Let's have a quick demonstration of this program, this software, which is called SeismoSignal, and it is from a company called SeismoSoft, and they have some other programs also for structural analysis, for the matching of ground motions and processing and modification of ground acceleration files. So they are kind enough to provide the academic license also, so you all can request using your organizational email addresses, so they will send you an academic license. So you can download it from seismosoft.com/products, and from that you can select SeismoSignal. And since I have just downloaded it, so I will just use the continue trial. Otherwise, the second option is obtain academic license. If you go for that, you can provide your email address, but that should be email address from your organization, and then you can send the details, so that email will be replied with an academic license. Currently, I will simply go for continue trial, and there are some limitations also for trial version or academic license also. Some of the features are not available for trial version and as well as for academic license, but most of the features are available for academic license. So once I go for continue with the trial version, now this is the interface, and here you have the acceleration and time graph area. Here you have velocity, and here you have displacement versus time. So once you import a ground acceleration file in this program, it will show you the acceleration. Obviously you will import the ground acceleration, then it will automatically integrate that to get velocity, and automatically integrate that to get displacement also. So let's import an example earthquake file, and there are different international databases which allow you to download the real-time ground motion data for different earthquake events. So those international databases you can find online, and then you can go for different options in that. You can select the earthquake event, and the acceleration versus time data in the form of files, in the form of data files will be available, and that you can download and import in SeismoSignal. So before I in fact import one example earthquake file, let me go to this option, which is download strong ground motion data, and if you click on this, you will have a list of different international databases, and each database will have some description here in the bottom. For example, there is one peer ground motion database, which is the Pacific Earthquake Engineering Research ground motion database. If you can click on this, then you can go to the online system for this database, and then you can download a ground motion from that. Another one is resource, then Cosmos, European strong motion database, Italian as well as BRI, Building Research Institute database. So let me first, let's say just for the sake of this demonstration, I click on this peer ground motion database, and then it should open the web link for the Pacific Earthquake Engineering Research ground motion database, and then I should be able to log into that database and get the ground motions which I want to download. So for example, let me show this peer ground motion database. I click it, and then I can open here in this browser, and you can see here that you have to have a online account to enter into that database. So you can sign up for your email address. I have already created that account, so I can just sign in and I can access that database. So there are two databases in peer ground motion database. One is the shallow crustal earthquakes in active tectonic regimes for the west coast. Basically this is This is for ground motions in US mostly. So NGA West 2 will be for shallow crustal earthquakes in active tectonic regimes, and the NGA East will be for Central and Eastern North America. So you can go to this NGA West 2 database, click here. Let's say that I go for no scaling. If you want to modify your ground motion based on a particular guideline from a building code, you can select from that list or any particular modification you want to have. But otherwise, with no scaling, I can go to submit, and then this form will appear. This form should be filled for the selection criteria from the database. The ground motions will be selected based on this selection criteria. So either you can directly give the event name or station name or the record number, serial number, or you can search based on the magnitude and the faulting mechanisms, or the distance from source to site, etc., etc. So there are several selection criteria which you can give, and the ranges can be given. Let me just click on load sample input values, and then some sample values are loaded. Obviously this itself will be an important discussion, that what values should be used or what values are representative for the future earthquake at your site. So currently let's assume that we just know all these values, and then we can go for search records, and then from the database the system will give us those ground motions. This is the list of those ground motions which have the values or parameters in the range of what we have provided as the selection criteria. These are the spectral acceleration versus time period, which means the acceleration response spectra for those ground motions which are picked from this database. So here you can see two buttons: download search results, which is the metadata, the information about those records and their spectra. And the second option is the download time history, time series records, which means that not only you download the information, metadata, their spectra, but also the trace files, which means the acceleration or velocity or displacement time histories recorded for these earthquakes or these events. So for one event, for example San Fernando, we can have different you can say recording stations, and the acceleration or displacement or velocity values for the same event recorded at different stations are also available. So obviously the magnitude and all other event specific parameters will be same for all of those, but the characteristics of recorded ground motions will be different, because these stations will be located at different locations at different distances from the epicenter of the earthquake. So you can just check these options, or then download this button. It will just download the selected records which are sorted out or just extracted out from the database. So this is just an overview. Obviously I am not going to go into detail of each of these parameters, because that will require a separate discussion, how we can come up with all of these selection criteria which actually represent the future earthquake which is expected at a particular site. So similarly I can go back to the SeismoSignal again and maybe click on this European strong motion database. It will take me to again the same similar kind of an online system which will allow me to download a particular ground motion. So let me go back now and exit, and let's assume now for the sake of this demonstration that we have already downloaded the acceleration time histories or acceleration records for the ground motion. So I can go to this open, and it will just ask me for the ground motion file, and that file should be imported. Some of the example acceleration time histories or accelerograms are already available in this list, in this folder. It is just installed with the software. So they are .dat files. If you can see here, they are .dat files, and the acceleration files can have different extensions, but one common feature for all of those acceleration files is that they can be accessed and opened using Notepad. So for example, these are the acceleration records from different ground motions, the example ones. So I can go for the first one, which is Chi earthquake in Taiwan in 1999, a very famous earthquake. So let me just open it in Notepad first to just check the format of that file, how the data is arranged in that file, the acceleration, ground acceleration data. So maybe let me open it in Notepad. So I can click Notepad and maybe always open this. So the file is open now. Here you can see Chi earthquake. You can see here that it has first few lines of information about the earthquake event, from which source it is obtained and when the event was occurred, and then frequency range, the earthquake values, the acceleration signal have certain range of frequency that is in this range, and most importantly here you can see time, seconds, and acceleration in g units. So after that line, in line number 6, if you can see here, from line number 6 onwards, from here you have two columns. One is the time column, another is the ground acceleration column. You can copy and paste it in Excel and plot it yourself to visualize how that acceleration time history looks like. But there can be certain different other formats of the acceleration files also. Another common form is the multi-column form, where you have more than one acceleration columns. So you, in one line, you will have maybe 5 or 6 acceleration values, each spaced at a particular delta t, which is the time interval, and then each line will have 5 or 6 values. But here you will have just one acceleration value per line, one time, and then the second column is acceleration. So you have to understand the format of file first before importing it to SeismoSignal. So once we understood that the actual data starts from line number 6 and it goes to maybe line number 5284, and you can see here that the time interval between 2 points is 0.01 second. So actually it is an earthquake which is having the 5284 data points, each equally spaced at 0.01 second. So basically it is some 52 seconds earthquake. So once we know all of these information, now we can just click on Chi and then click OK. When we click open, a new dialog box will appear, and here we have to give all of these parameters. In most of the standard acceleration files formats, these input parameters are automatically you can say filled from the file itself. So first of all, we have to tell the format of the file. We have single acceleration value per line, and we can also go for this one, time and acceleration values per line. So I think the second one is better. First line, the data starts from line number 6. The first 5 lines, here you can see the preview. The first 5 lines are just information about the earthquake or the file itself. So the first line is line number 6, and the last line is, you can again go down in the preview and click on the last line and check this number, 5284. So this should be the last line. Time step delta t is 0.01. It automatically picked that. You can see the data is spaced at 0.01 second. Scaling factor, if you want to apply to your ground motion. The acceleration column is the second column and time column is the first column, so you can check these numbers, and the units are, acceleration units are in G units. Those can be changed also, but default value is G. So after everything is okay, you can click on OK, and here you can see some 52 seconds long earthquake. This is that file which we just opened. The software automatically report that in tabular form as well as in the graphical form, but it have taken the integration also, calculated the ground velocity, and this is the ground displacement. So these are the numerical integration results, the velocity and the displacement directly, and their tabular values can also be copied, and maybe you can export also if you have the academic license or commercial license. So there are a lot of things which you can do with this ground motion now. The first thing is the baseline correction and filtering. Then you can have the time series, converting the acceleration into velocity and displacement. You can plot their Fourier spectra or power spectra. You can also plot the response spectrum, and that can be elastic or inelastic. The concept of inelastic response spectrum is not covered in your class lecture, so it is simply if you use an inelastic single degree of freedom system and you modify its initial time period every time and calculate the peak response against this ground motion, the resulting spectra will be inelastic response spectrum. And lastly, you can go for checking the ground motion parameters. There are a lot of information from this acceleration record which you can extract, and the software will extract that and will list down these parameters in this tab. So first we will go for the baseline correction and filtering. Currently I am using a trial version, so I will not be allowed to actually perform that analysis, but I can quickly tell you that there are three things which you can do here. One is the baseline correction, basically two things. Baseline correction, the baseline correction is that if, for example, for some reason your whole acceleration time history is displaced from the zero mean position. Let's say that if it is recorded corresponding to another mean position which is not zero. Let's say that the actual history is fluctuating to and fro at a certain value and not zero, let's say 0.1. So in that case, the whole history will be basically fluctuating up and down from 0.1. So you have to subtract that 0.1 from whole of this acceleration time history values to bring it down to 0. That 0.1 will be kind of a, you can say, a constant error in your whole of your time history. That error can be constant, or it can be linear or quadratic or anything. So you can correct that before doing any other processing. You can correct that error from baseline correction. You can go for these options, constant, linear or any other, and then you can apply that correction. So on top you will see the original ground motion which you have imported, and on the bottom you will see the corrected ground motion. So the second thing you can do is that you can filter out some frequencies, or you can modify any frequency in the actual recorded ground motion. Sometimes the recorded accelerogram, that equipment itself have some noise or some error, or there is some frequencies which are corresponding to not the actual ground shaking but the random noise which is due to some other reasons, some other issues, and they are not representing the true ground shaking. Those very high frequencies, very small amplitude high frequencies, those should be excluded or removed from your actual signal. So this filter is the filtering process, basically will remove the noise as well as any other signal processing or frequency modification which you may want to do it before you actually use it as a true representative of your ground shaking. So there can be different kinds of filters which you can apply. For example, the normal configuration of filter, the normal types are low pass, high pass, band pass, or band stop. Low pass, as the name indicates, that in this kind of a filter you will simply give a frequency, one cutoff frequency, and it will allow to pass all frequencies in the earthquake ground motion, which will be lower than that number. So you will just give one frequency, and that frequency will be used as a cutoff value. All frequencies lower than that will be allowed, and all frequencies higher than that will be filtered out. A high pass filter will be opposite of that. It will allow to pass all those frequencies which are higher than a particular specified frequency. A band pass will ask you a range of frequency 1 and 2, and it will allow the frequencies in between that range to pass from the filter, and it will not allow those which are not in that range to pass. And the opposite will be band stop. You will again give a range of frequencies. It will only stop or filter out those frequencies and let all others pass. So these are the different configurations or types of filters which you can apply to your ground motion to clean it out if it has some noise. So once this process is done, then you can finally go for the next process, which is the construction of response spectrum or any other kind of spectrum. There are two other spectra. One is called the Fourier spectrum. This one, where we have the Fourier amplitude on y-axis and the frequency on x-axis. This frequency can be converted to time period also, but this frequency is not the frequency of a single degree of freedom system. This graph is basically telling you the contribution of different frequencies in the actual earthquake record. So now you can see that the frequency is on x-axis, so all of these frequencies in hertz, they will have different y ordinates, and those ordinates or their heights are basically telling you the contribution, the relative contribution of that particular frequency in this acceleration signal. Same information, the frequency content of the earthquake acceleration signal can be obtained from this graph also, which is called the power amplitude. The power spectral density function, the amplitude is plotted on y-axis and frequency on x-axis. So it is telling you, these graphs are telling you that this acceleration signal is a mix of many frequencies in a range of around 0.01 hertz to maybe 100 hertz or 50 hertz. So the contribution of these frequencies, these range which are near peak values, the contribution of only those frequencies is higher, and other frequencies have lower contributions, but they are there in the graph, in the signal. Same information from here also. You can see here that these two peak values are exactly on the same frequency here also. So the frequency composition of a particular acceleration graph or history can be obtained, that information can be obtained from these two graphs. For example, if this signal was just a sinusoidal wave with having a constant omega, so in that case the Fourier spectrum would be just one line, and that line will be at that frequency which is corresponding to the frequency of the sine wave. So it will be just one bar or one line, because all of the 100% contribution of the in that signal will be of only one frequency, and that will be the frequency of that sine wave. But here you can see a random signal which have a mix of many frequencies. So next you can go for the response spectrum, which can be elastic or inelastic. In this tab you can have some further options, for example displacement, velocity, acceleration, pseudo velocity, pseudo acceleration. Obviously this velocity and pseudo velocity are two different things. From velocity you mean that you actually solve the single degree of freedom system and then pick the peak velocity for each case. But for pseudo velocity, it simply means that you calculated the displacement spectrum and then multiply with omega for each point to get the pseudo velocity spectrum. Same is for pseudo acceleration. And then in the graphical form you can see here, but in the tabular forms you can go for each tab and check the tabular form. And at the end you can also have the response time histories. So here for the spectrum type you have two options. One is the elastic spectra and other is the inelastic spectrum. And for inelastic spectrum you have to have some further options, but let's you can say that for this demonstration we can only go for the elastic spectrum. And let's say I want the time period on the x-axis and displacement on the y-axis. So this displacement response spectrum I want for the earthquake which I just imported, and the damping ratio should be 5%. So let me just refresh this and it should be able to create a plot for a response spectrum. It says that for academic and trial license the maximum time period cannot be greater than 4 seconds. So I can click OK. So here you can see this is the time period versus acceleration response spectrum. I can click on displacement. So this will be the displacement response spectrum for this specific Chi earthquake. Velocity, pseudo velocity, and then pseudo acceleration. So you can see here that pseudo velocity and the actual velocity are different. So their numbers are different. Similarly, the acceleration and pseudo acceleration are different. The difference is very small here in this case. On x-axis we can have frequency also, because time period can be converted to f, and also we can also plot displacement versus acceleration. I mean the spectral acceleration can be on y-axis and the spectral or response displacement can be on x-axis. So because since we know that response displacement is omega is d and response acceleration is omega square d, the pseudo acceleration, so we can also plot any of their combinations, for example displacement and pseudo acceleration, displacement and pseudo velocity. So we can just click on these options and the graph will be modified according to that. If we want their numerical values, we can go for each of these tabs and then we can copy these tables for velocity, acceleration, and then pseudo velocity and pseudo acceleration also. And then if we want the graphical form, we can go to this option. Another option here is the response time histories. Here you can calculate or check the response of one particular single degree of freedom system against that earthquake which we have just imported. So let's say that I want to solve a single degree of freedom system which have a time period of 0.5 seconds. So I will just check 0.5 second here, and I want to calculate its displacement and I want a graph for that. So I can click on refresh and it will give me the displacement response against that particular earthquake for a structure which has a time period of 0.5 second and which have a damping of 5%. So this response you can also calculate using step-by-step direct integration method or Duhamel's integral. In fact, this program uses the step-by-step direct integration method, the Newmark's method, and it solves the single degree of freedom system. So you can change the time period and then refresh it to see the response again and again. So here you can confirm that, for example, if I reduce the time period to a very small value, you can see here that the shape of the response it start matching with the shape of the actual earthquake or actual force. So if I go to time series, you can see here that there are two peaks and then again here some peaks, and the response of the single degree of freedom system also having the same shape. So if I increase the time period, it will have for example, it will have a time period of 1.7 seconds, which means that it would love to have a complete cycle in 1.7 seconds if it is allowed to vibrate freely. So you can see here that now It will try to complete one cycle in that 1.7 seconds, although the earthquake effect will be there, but it will try to maintain this number of cycles, this time for one cycle. So similarly, you can go for all of the range and check each response of each single degree of freedom system separately. So you can go for values also, you can plot it yourself, you can copy these values and then go to Excel and plot it yourself. So last thing is the ground motion parameters. The ground motion parameters are a set of those quantities which you can extract from a particular acceleration ground motion signal. For example, if I say that the peak ground acceleration is equal to this number, now this number is one ground motion parameter, the maximum acceleration, which is somewhere around 0.36 g. And there can be other informations also, peak velocity, peak displacement corresponding to that. And there are some other, there is a whole list of these ground motion parameters which are all extracted from this one acceleration time history. For example, there are some quantities which are just one fixed number for the whole history. There are some quantities which are basically a function of time, just like the actual acceleration time history is the function of time. So there is a quantity, for example, area's intensity, which is the scare, acceleration scare, and the integral of that, integration of acceleration function scare. So it is a parameter which tells us the approximate intensity, or you can say how intense a ground motion is. So that parameter is plotted as a function of time here. Similarly, the energy flux is another quantity which can be calculated from a particular acceleration time history. And some other quantities, some are obvious, for example, maximum velocity, maximum displacement, but some may have some complex equations or calculations. You may check the section 3 or chapter 3 of a book called Geotechnical Earthquake Engineering by Stephen L. Kramer, a very important book on the topic, and that section 3.3 of that book will basically give you a list of all of these important parameters which you can extract from an acceleration time history. They give different information about the intensity and other parameters of a particular earthquake. So this was all about this demonstration, and I think if you have any questions you can ask now for its use. It's simple, straightforward. I think I cannot copy these values because I am using a trial version, but otherwise you should be able to select these graphs and copy them in Excel and plot them yourself.